But Venerable Sir, in what way can a monk be called skilled in dependent origination? Here, Ananda, a monk knows thus: when this exists, that comes to be. With the arising of this, that arises. When this does not exist, that does not come to be. With the cessation of this, that ceases. That is, with ignorance as condition, volition comes to be. With volition as condition, consciousness. With consciousness as condition, mentality, materiality. With mentality, materiality as condition, the sixfold base. With the sixfold base as condition, contact. With contact as condition, feeling. With feeling as condition, craving. With craving as condition, clinging. With clinging as condition, being. With being as condition, birth. With birth as condition, aging and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair come to be. Such is the origin of this whole mass of suffering. But with the remainderless fading away and cessation of ignorance, there comes cessation of volition. With the cessation of volition, cessation of consciousness. With the cessation of consciousness, cessation of mentality, materiality. With the cessation of mentality, materiality, cessation of the sixfold base. With the cessation of the sixfold base, cessation of contact. With the cessation of contact, cessation of feeling. With the cessation of feeling, cessation of craving. With the cessation of craving, cessation of clinging. With the cessation of clinging, cessation of being. With the cessation of being, cessation of birth. With the cessation of birth, aging and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair cease. Such is the cessation of this whole mass of suffering. In this way, Ananda, a monk can be called skilled in dependent origination. In this dependent origination, the Buddha says everything in the world arises due to causes and conditions. So the basic formula, when this exists, that comes to be. Because something exists, it brings about the existence of something else. Because something arises, it causes some other thing to arise. But when something ceases, it causes some other things to cease. So, as far as suffering is concerned, the 12 links of dependent origination are stated here. First condition for suffering to arise is ignorance, ignorance of the Four Noble Truths. When we don't know the Dhamma, we keep turning in the round of rebirths, suffering. So, ignorance, because of ignorance, we have volition. Volition, basically the will to live. So it is because of the will to live that consciousness arises. Consciousness, as I mentioned before, is not an ending stream of consciousness. Consciousness arises and passes away extremely fast. In 1 second, many times this consciousness arises and passes away. Consciousness arises and passes away. So each time it passes away, it is volition, the will to live, that makes the next consciousness arise again. So consciousness keeps arising because of our will to live. So our will to live is very strong. It causes consciousness to arise. So when consciousness arises, it comes together with nama rupa, mentality, materiality, which is phenomena, what we are conscious of, makes up the world. So mentality, materiality makes up the internal world and the external world. So after that, you have salayatana, the sixfold base, the six sense bases, because consciousness must lodge itself or must arise at the six sense bases, because there are 6 types of consciousness: the eye consciousness, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind consciousness. So that arises at the 6 sense bases. So that's why you have 6 sense bases. And when you have the 6 sense bases, you have contact, the internal sense base and the external sense base makes contact. And when there is contact, feeling arises. And if you have pleasant feeling, then you crave for it. You crave for it and you cling to it. Craving is followed by clinging. And because of craving and clinging, this being arises. You have this perception, I exist. I want this. I cannot live without this. So that being, that I, comes into existence. So that's why sometimes it's translated as being. Sometimes it's translated as existence. So once you have being, you see yourself existing in the world, then you think that you are born into the world, and if you don't have being, then you don't think that you are born. You're just like a tree. A tree doesn't think it is born in the world, but because you have a being, then you think, I am born. So when you see yourself born into the world, and then later you will age and become sick and die, and all types of sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair arise. This is the origin of the whole mass of suffering. So the converse is true. When one ceases, it causes the other to cease, just like domino.